So the same thing always happens when a new device launches. The media gets review units ahead of the official launch, and we get to use them while we write our review. Then the press embargo lifts, every outlet posts their reviews and videos at the same time, writers and commenters go back and forth, and it's a huge frenzy of opinion and buzz for about a day, and then it all goes away. Sure, there's some follow-up coverage, but after that initial blast, almost no one revisits the device to see how well it's aged, because we're all on to the next big thing already.
So, let's do something about it. Let's take a second look at Samsung's 2014 flagship, which is water-resistant, sensor-packed, and so glam. I'm Taylor Martin with Pocketnow. This is the Samsung Galaxy S5, and this is episode 38 of After the Buzz. To date, we here at Pocketnow have given the Galaxy S5 two full review treatments, one for the AT&T model and another for the Verizon unit. But if you count the handful of other Galaxy S5 models we've reviewed, like the Prime, Active, and Sport, that number jumps to 5. Per usual, Samsung has diluted its hero brand with more specific, targeted versions of hardware. The question is, are these different models evidence from Samsung itself that the Galaxy S5 isn't the glamorous high-end smartphone for everyone? And have Samsung's competitors leapfrogged the Android giant? 4 months later, has our opinion changed? Is the Galaxy S5 still worth buying? Let's find out. When Michael first reviewed the AT&T Galaxy S5, he noted that, yes, the hardware does in fact look and feel a lot like the Galaxy S4. It's larger and heavier, which are both welcome changes, but it feels familiar, as he calls it. After a few hours, it feels like you've been using it for months. He noted that for many, that will be a good thing, and for those looking to change things up, you'd probably want to look elsewhere. In the 4 months since its release, our view of the hardware hasn't really changed at all. Samsung did a wonderful job in cramming a whole lot of screen in a reasonably sized smartphone. It added a host of new features and specifications over last year's Galaxy S model, and we're happy it finally updated the button configuration with a dedicated task switcher button over the antiquated menu key. But for those complaining about Samsung's use of cheap plastics, the S5 will not impress. The design has hardly changed in 2 years, even if Samsung introduced a faux perforated texture to the backside and changed the appearance of the chrome plastic trim. It sharpened up the corners a bit and made it look a little more mature than previous models, but all visual changes tend to quickly fade into the background. For those fitness mavens, outdoorsy folk, and sensor buffs out there, the S5 has it all. It's impossible to overlook the fact that the S5 comes with IP67 certification for dust and water resistance, despite the persistent software prompts telling you to ensure the battery door and power port are securely sealed. The Fingerprint Scanner adds a new layer of security not many phones have, even if it's frustrating at times and usually requires 2 hands or multiple swipes, or both, just to get into your phone. And the insides are just as impressive as most other smartphones on the market. It includes an IR blaster, heart rate sensor, Bluetooth 4.0, LTE, NFC, and Wi-Fi AC. The Snapdragon 801 is still just as impressive, and no displays pop quite like Samsung's Super AMOLED panels. Despite the ample add-on storage, we wouldn't mind some more onboard storage or RAM. But if design and what materials a phone is made of are near the bottom of your priorities, the Galaxy S5 is still a very good phone, particularly in terms of what it packs under the hood. Software on the Galaxy S5 hasn't changed much since our initial reviews, and neither has our opinion of it. The AT&T model we have on hand is still running the same version of Android it shipped with, Android 4.4.2, beneath Samsung's updated TouchWiz. In TouchWiz this year, Samsung introduced a toned-down UI with soft matte colors and lots of circles. It's noticeably more minimal, less cluttered, and less in-your-face, but it still comes with more than a few heavy contrasts and accent colors meant to show off the super saturation of the S5's display. We were happy to learn the tabbed settings application was traded in favor of a grid or list view, though you can still get the tabs back if you missed them. What we really love about TouchWiz are the value adds Samsung brings, such as the multi-window feature that lets you watch a YouTube video while browsing the web, or Toolbox, a user customizable floating bubble that expands, showing shortcuts to some of your favorite apps or tools. However, there are far more software features from Samsung that we never touch, like S-Health, S-Voice, Samsung Apps, Smart Stay, Smart Pause, Quick Connect, and My Magazine, a baked-in Flipboard feed. TouchWiz has some nice touches, and it's definitely improving, but this particular version feels rushed and unfinished. Mostly, we feel indifferent towards the software experience on the Galaxy S5. Samsung's competitors made large leaps with their custom versions of Android this year, specifically HTC with Sense 6 and LG with its new UI on the G3. Performance was always a high point of the S5. The Snapdragon 801 is no slouch. It posts great numbers in synthetic benchmarks and slices through heavy gaming or everyday tasks without a hitch. We're happy to report that it's still just as snappy and powerful today. Battery life, on the other hand, isn't the best we've seen. On most days, it should manage to last a full day, or about 4 hours of screen on time. That is, unless you're a heavy gamer or like to keep your brightness turned all the way up. Fortunately, Samsung includes 2 levels of power saving, a normal power saver mode and an ultra power saving mode, both of which will allow you to squeeze more out of your phone's charge at the expense of functionality. If you're one to place a lot of calls, the Galaxy S5's call quality should give you some pause though. Both Michael and I were told we sounded muffled when we tested call quality during our initial reviews, though data speeds and network performance are far more favorable. In broad daylight, the camera is one of the main draws of this phone. It's fantastic. Color saturation is a little high, but that's par for the course. Autofocus locks on quickly and you can snap photos as fast as you can hit the on-screen shutter button. Video quality in broad daylight is great as well.
Welcome to Tobaccoville Road.
And the low light performance is not very good at all. If you're after a pretty balanced camera experience, the 16 megapixel shooter on the back of the S5 is definitely one of your better options. So 4 months later, the Galaxy S5 is still just as great as it was on the day it launched, but it's definitely lacking the glam and bite Samsung claimed, and Samsung's slowing growth and falling profits are indicative of how its cautious updates are beginning to hurt the company. So would we recommend the S5 today? Well, not above all else. If you want performance, a great camera, and an above average smartphone, the S5 is a safe bet, especially if you spend much of your time around water. But devices like the One M8 and LG G3 bring much more to the table in terms of user experience, build quality, design, and overall value. I hope you enjoyed this episode of After the Buzz. If you did, go ahead and click the like button below and subscribe to the channel to find more videos like this one in the future. You can find us around the web, Twitter, Facebook, and Google+ at Pocketnow. I'm Taylor Martin. You can find me on Twitter at CasperTech, and I will see you next time.
You look like a bearded woodsman with sweat on your face.
Roll on your butts.
Go really fast. Welcome to the country.
Tobaccoville Road. Welcome to Tobaccoville Road.